There's the notes. Oh, did you like my text? The students.
Yeah, that was great. Mac.
I saw it. It wasn't one of my students. It was a student from next door that needed to take a test, and so he was taking it in my class, and he gave it to me, and I was going to give it back to the teacher, and I looked down, I just started laughing out loud. All my students were like, "What?" I was like, "Never mind, but hang on, I need to take a picture of this and send it to my friend." Looked at me like I was crazy.
Mac. Oh.
If I ever had a student in my class named Mac. Oh my god.
Oh yeah.
That'd be that poor kid.
That poor kid. He's like, for some reason, my teacher just always yelled my name.
Every time he raised his hand.
I have a couple Dylans. I'm always saying Dylan in the hallway or in the classroom. Dylan!
Oh my god, yeah, Dylan. I don't have any Dylans this year. Dang.
Dylan!
But man, if there's a kid named Mac, like every time I'd call on him. Every time he raised his hand, like I would always call on him.
Or he just had the soundbite ready.
Mac!
Mac!
He'd run over to the computer. Mac!
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 Play the long one. Mac!
Mac! Mac! Mac! Mac! Mac! Mac! Mac! Mac!
Mac! What?
Oh, that poor kid.
Poor kid.
Mac!
Named Mac. Or, Lucky Kid.
Lucky kid, yeah.
Mac!
Welcome to Predator Minute, the podcast that breaks down the 1987 action, sci-fi, spooky classic Predator 1 minute at a time. I'm John Zabriskie.
And I'm Jeff Glover.
And today we're talking minute 38 of Predator, the Rick Aguilera of minutes.
Oh, you really
Do you know
pulled that one
is?
out. No, I don't.
he's a pitcher who wore number 38 at one point with Eric Deutsch's favorite team. Former guest of the show.
Shout out Eric Deutsch.
It's all bullshit!
Hey,
Wait,
friend of the show.
Friend of the show. Who was his favorite team?
Well, he's a New York guy, and he's more of a Mets guy versus a Yankees guy. There's a steep divide between those two fan bases.
Up the middle, kick save. Aguilera, can he make the play? Yes!
So this is a Mets pitcher. You're exposing my ignorance here, John. I don't know anything about baseball.
Yeah, it's a Mets pitcher, and coincidentally, it's Christina Aguilera's dad.
Oh, what?
No, just kidding. That would be great.
Oh man, you totally had me. I completely believed you at that moment.
He's a genie in a bottle.
You got to rub him the right way.
What, is Adam still here?
Oh
man, I was editing that episode, and now it's all ready to just add music and then publish. But yeah, we definitely went hard R in that podcast.
Adam will be pleased to know that.
Yeah. So
was that the most famous number 38, or just the one your favorite 38 of note?
Oh, I didn't have a 38 in mind, so I just went to New York Mets number 38 because I know Eric's a Mets fan.
Nice. There you go, Eric. You're welcome. Well, what do we got here in 38?
Oh, I'm glad you asked, Jeff. Hey, minute 38 opens with Blaine saying, "You lose it here.
You lose it here.
You lose it here. You're in a world of hurt."
And ends with Hawkins following Billy down the hill.
Yeah, so our conversation finishes between Mac and Blaine.
Mac!
And so just short. Blaine just says, "You lose it here, you're in a world of hurt." Assuming, like, if you lose your mind, if you lose your way, is that what you take from that sentence?
Yeah, I initially took it as mental if you lose your mind,
stability.
But I really like your take about direction.
It could have double meanings, all those things. But it is a little bit of foreshadowing into our favorite character, Mac, isn't it?
Mac!
Because he's the one that famously later on does kind of lose it mentally. Yeah,
a couple times. You could argue he loses it when Blaine is gone. You could argue when he's just shaving in the jungle, staring at nothing, and Arnold has to give a nice quiet / loud Mac, and he breaks the razor on his face.
Right.
And then, of course, most famously, when he just runs after the predator after the trap has been sprung, and he's singing to himself the lyrics to Long Tall Sally.
I'm gonna have me some fun.
Well, also mistaking the pig for a bad guy, right? When he does that, that's a pretty big moment where he's kind of we see sort of a slow de-evolution of his mind, don't we, in this next section of the film. That's a good little kind of character twist. I like that because he's so stoic and steadfast in the first part of the movie that it's, of all the characters, you don't expect, at least I didn't when I very first saw this movie way back when, didn't expect that it would be Mac that would lose it first.
Mac. Yeah. It's if we're looking at this scene and then we know what happens later with Blaine, it's almost in a way that Blaine is keeping him hinged. He's keeping Mac calm and connected to the real world and the situation and the mission.
Yeah, so the only other thing of note about this end of their conversation is our Predator music is our team music is kind of thumping along in the background, right? Mm-hmm. Yeah, which is always nice.
The Predator theme, which I think I've convinced you that is more indicative of when the team is moving, and the Predator is more the drum, the tribal kind of music.
All right, so should we move on to the next section? This is really what most of this minute is about.
Yeah, most of this minute is introducing us in a different way to Anna, our new team member, as she is fighting back a little bit, to the best of her ability, let's be honest, for right now, against captivity, against Dylan. Yeah.
What do you think about her plan here?
I think it's hilarious, and I also think that for some reason she knows how much Dylan needs her as an excuse for the mission, to call the mission a success. So there's as much as her plan sucks, which is throw leaves in Dylan's face and then run away. I don't think there's anything Dylan can do. I don't think Dylan's in any position to tie her up anymore, because that would make it really hard for her to move, and he's not in a position to wound her, to really put the hurt on her, because then she's not going to, right? She's going to slow down the whole team, and he's going to be left behind.
Right. Yeah. I actually think she had a good start to this plan, but she makes a bad decision halfway through, because she falls down, kind of plays dead, right? Like she's passing out from heat exhaustion or something, and Dylan has to kind of bend down and shake her and be like, what's going on? Hey, get up.
Come on, sweetheart, stop sandbagging it. Now get up. Come on, get up. Would you get up?
I think if she had just played dead and not moved for a little while,
for a long time,
just long enough that he would have been like, damn it. He would have had to go find someone, get some help. Like, hey, what do we do? She's passed out right here. You need to help me carry her somewhere, or help me wake her up or something. I think she could have gotten a moment where he had to walk away for a moment. And then she could have, had a little more of a head start and gotten up and run away. But instead, she waits till he bends down. It's like the exact opposite. She waits until he's as close to her as possible. And instead of trying to grab his gun or do anything like that, just throws leaves in his face, which doesn't really do anything, and then tries to run away. It's really a terrible plan. In the second part of her little escape plan, I guess.
Just to talk about the shot here, when she's laying on her back and she does the throw leaves in his face as soon as he turns her over, it's very reminiscent to me of a lot of other horror movies when you're turning over the bad guy and you think you killed the bad guy and the bad guy's still alive, or the bad guy opens the eyes or lunges for the person. So it was an interesting little take there that just, like we're talking about, doesn't really seem to go anywhere. But
yeah, it's like the famous false ending, right? Like you think the bad guy's dead and the movie's over, and then
yeah. Right. In this case, it's someone who's not very much a bad guy, and in the team's eyes, or in our eyes, it's just someone who happened to be caught in the wrong situation, possibly. Yeah. But I was thinking maybe another method is when he's trying to pull her up. You know how when you're trying to pick up your little toddler kids, they don't want to be picked up, they do the arm straight in the air thing, and you can't really pick them up, or they they somehow like feel like sandbags in your hands, and like you can't pick them up very easily.
You can't get your hands underneath their shoulders or their armpits.
She just kept lifting her arm, and he kept like slipping his grip. Like, come on, stop playing games. Come on, and that just is going on.
Come on, sweetheart, stop sandbagging it. Now get up. Come on, get up. Would you get up?
Go to your room.
Go to your room. But the way she splashes the leaves in his face, it's hilarious to me. And his reaction, Dylan just turns away, holding his face like he's just been sprayed in the face with pepper spray. Total overreaction. I love it.
Total overreaction.
It reminds me of Naked Gun, when the guy is trying to kill Nordberg in the hospital room, and Drebin breaks into the room, and the bad guy throws the pillow at Drebin's face. And Drebin holds the pillow against his face, and it's going, ah, ah.
Let go of that pillow.
Like it's incapacitating him somehow. That's exactly what this reminds me of. Like, it's just leaves, ex-Special Forces member.
Oh my God. I love the Naked Gun movies so much. That's a sidetrack. That's a nostalgic, those are nostalgic movies for me. Like I feel like they played endlessly on like daytime HBO when I was old enough to stay home, old enough to be home by myself, but still kind of like young, like maybe 12, 13, like in the summertime when I'm home and there's no school. And we had HBO, and I just remember those movies being on all the time. And I would always, if it was on, I was watching them.
God, those are so good. So good. It's every once in a while, I'll just pull up like a best funny moments of Leslie Nielsen, and most of his funny moments are from that trilogy. And there's some really good ones. One of my favorites is when he parks the car on a hill, but he doesn't set the parking brake, and he hops out, and then the car is coming towards him as he's walking into the station, and someone says, "Car!" and he jumps out of the way, not knowing it's his car that's rolling down the hill, and he hops back up and shoots a couple of bullets into the car, and like it explodes and the airbag goes off. And he's asking the crowd, "Did anybody catch a license plate number?" And it kind of swerves off down the street, and then he has this look on his face a little bit like, I think that was my car, before just walking away.
Anybody catch a license plate? Anybody get a look at the driver? Take the names of everybody here for questioning. I gotta get inside.
Oh my God, those movies! I think it might be 2.5. The opening scene of 2.5 when he's climbing along the outside of a building.
Oh, that's just in the first one. That's the first one.
That's the first movie.
And he grabs the statue.
Yeah, he grabs the statue. And the statue smiles. And then he climbs into that room, and like everything he does destroys the room. Like he sets it on fire, and
right.
Just I can't describe that sequence in words, but it is like one of the great physical comedic performances that scene is. Oh my God.
Right.
Oh,
and you have to have that lens on while you watch Carl Weathers react to being hit in the face with leaves. It's just focus on his reaction. Right. In the background especially. He's still struggling as she makes her way to...
Oh yeah, you're right. He's like, "Oh, leaves are all over me, dear God."
It takes him a good 5 or 6 seconds to work all the leaves and the dirt out. Then he's right behind her, yanking her up all mad. Poisonous leaves. Okay, so she makes it all of 5 feet, and then Panchito is waiting there straddling a log over her.
Yeah.
Very, very... I don't know, in a very sexualized manner from his position. From our viewpoint, he's holding a gun between his legs towards her face.
Yeah.
And he says, "Nilo intentes," which means "don't even try it," which it says "don't even try it" in the original script. It's in English. And then Dylan says in Spanish, "Try it again, please." So they switched that around to make Panchito the native Spanish speaker, or the Spanish speaker of the group, saying, "Nilo intentes, don't even try it."
Nilo intentes.
Maybe you better put her on a leash, Agent Man.
Maybe you better put her on a leash, Agent Man.
Well, yeah, so we get a little visual sexism there with Pancho standing like that with his gun kind of between his legs.
Yeah.
And right before that, Dylan threw a little out with, "Come on, sweetheart, stop sandbagging it."
Yeah.
He got a nice little sweetheart in there.
Yeah, a little sweetheart.
Yeah. Classic 80s.
Right.
Mild misogyny. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, so she doesn't get very far. Poncho saves the day, and and then they're off down the trail again.
Yeah, and I made the note here that Dylan, like any good Dylan, parent, or like a bad parent or bad teacher, he doesn't do anything to try to stop this future behavior. He just says, "Try it again, please."
Try it again. Please.
Right, and I already talked about before, he knows he can't really do anything to her. She knows he can't do anything to her. So it's really meaningless talk. He doesn't do anything extra to leverage a situation in his favor. It's simply do what I say, and then nothing has changed. Who knows if that actually comes back to bite the team in the butt later on. I'm hoping not, but at the same time, if he's not doing anything here, you're just going to lose the... What's the word I'm looking for? Lose the respect of your prisoner.
Yeah, leverage.
Yeah, leverage.
Yeah. I guess, I mean, the only leverage I feel like the team has is that, I mean, it's kind of the darkest option, but like she's not completely necessary. She might be thinking in the back of her mind, well, they could just kill me and leave me here in the jungle. Right. If they're serious about keeping her alive and bringing her along, then like they don't have a lot of leverage because they need her to be able to move, so they can't hurt her. You're right, they can't really bind her because she needs to be able to walk. But maybe in the back of her head there is still that thought, well, I guess if they get tired of me, they could just leave me here in the jungle. That's the only thing I can think of that is any leverage they have over her.
I mean, maybe there's a fear of being shot at times, but anytime she's on the run, or in this minute or future minutes, someone has a weapon either trained on her or ready to be trained on her. So it's interesting that choice that she's ready to escape, and that must speak to her character, whatever characteristic you want to call that, whether that's an unwillingness to be captive, it's a willfulness, it's wanting to be free, it's a feistiness, it's just a never going to give upness. Yeah. So we're learning about her character right here.
Yeah, that is kind of her defining characteristic so far, isn't it? That she's just, a survivor, a bit feisty. What do you know? Did you do research on this actress? Has she been in other things?
This is Elpidia Carrillo, and we spoke about her. Here, let me actually have like.
You're right. Sorry, you can cut that. It's we did talk about her back during her first appearance, didn't we?
Well, maybe not even during her. Maybe not during her first appearance, but definitely when the credits rolled for her. Here, I'll just bring it up real quick.
Oh, okay. Back in the early days of Predator Podcast.
Back in the early days of Predator Podcast, Predator Minute. Yeah, so she has been... I was going to say she's been a Mexican actress. She's been a Mexican actress all her life, but she's from Mexico. She's acted for many, many, many years. And this movie, she's fairly young. She's 26 years old, and she has been in various TV shows and movies since then. Some of the more famous appearances were in Pretender, 21 Jump Street, ER, Miami Vice, Madam Secretary, Mentalist, and Nashville. And
so mostly TV.
Yeah. What I've heard, she's a good actress who's still kicking around TV roles.
She does a good job here. Mm-hmm. Yeah, like she's convincing. Good performance. Yeah.
And being one of the last survivors, spoiler alert, she really has a lot more to carry as a character, both on an emotional level and carrying it as a physical toll throughout her scenes, because the team is going to start dropping one by one, and Arnold and her are going to be left behind to tell the tale of how they survived. And she has to do a good job selling that role and selling that experience, not just in her words, but also, or especially physically and the face acting she does. I think she does great.
Yeah, because a lot of her acting is nonverbal, right? Because she's just kind of she's doesn't speak the same language as the group, so she does a really good job of
that we know of so far.
Right.
Right.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah, so far in the movie. Yeah.
Right.
Spoiler alert.
So let's definitely keep an eye on Anna and the actor Elpidia as the movie goes on, because she might be a sleeper MVP of the second or third act of the movie.
Act.
Matt. I guess just second act. Let's just go with second act because now I'm thinking of third act. No,
Right.
nobody else is in the third act except for
Right.
Dutch and the Predator.
What was that bell back there? You having a Zen moment? Are you raking your sand garden? What's going on? over
I
there?
wish. No, my wife.
My wife.
Her cell phone is charging right here, and
You got a little bling.
yeah, all the little texts are popping through as it powered back on.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
All right. So are we done with that section? Should we?
I think so, because when I was looking for how to escort non-wounded walking prisoners of war,
Oh yeah.
it didn't. What I was really looking for was how do you do so in a manner that contains the prisoner from escaping, from keeping them from making too much noise and giving away your position any chance she gets. There's really nothing in it in the troop detail information for escorts, as in escorting the prisoner from one place to another. All it says is that troops that are detailed as escorts should prevent escapes and prevent prisoners from discarding or destroying any insignia or documents not taken. So it's there's nothing really specific about how to do it, which I was really looking for. And this information comes from Department of the Army Field Manual, 1952.
Yeah, I like the paragraph in here where it says prevent anyone from giving prisoners food, drink, or cigarettes prior to interrogation. Yeah.
Why is that? Oh, it says as such act does not violate any requirement concerning the treatment of prisoners of war.
But only prior to interrogation. Yeah. So
why is that, do you think?
Well, like get them in a state where they are hungry, thirsty, and want to smoke, and maybe they'll be more willing to give you information.
Smoke.
Oh, okay. And that must be what the second part means. It says such act does not violate any requirement concerning the treatment of, as in keeping these things away is not violating any requirement because we know that putting them in such a weakened state is going to make them easier to interrogate. Ooh, that's some dark stuff just kind of slid in there.
Yeah, just kind of like paragraph B, section 2 or 3 or whatever. Oh, man. Yeah.
Man. And this is a document from the 50s. Holy cow.
All right, so we get a really good kind of like shot of Billy, like a very masculine macho shot of Billy, don't we, walking down the hill. He comes right up to the camera, does this kind of cool like flip with his gun, and then stares off camera left. Kind of like if you pause it right there, it looks like it could be like a baseball card for this movie, for his character.
Oh, totally, yeah.
Yeah.
Like a little hero shot right there.
Oh, yeah.
So I like the way he snaps his M16. As soon as he hits the bottom of the hill, he realizes, oh, my M16 is encroaching too much on the frame. I have to snap it out of the way.
Yep, he snaps it out, holds it to
totally
the
snaps
side.
like a vine or something out of the way when he does that.
Yeah. He just holds that pose for a minute, and the camera just lingers on him.
Oh, he totally does. Yeah, when he snaps that barrel, just watch that again. He's totally moving that vine out of his way, out of the viewpoint.
Dude, that's the coolest vine move I've ever seen.
Almost as cool as that vine move where he drank all that water out of that vine.
Oh, yeah. That was too milky, though.
That was so weird.
So milky, yeah.
So milky.
I don't want vine milk. Gross. Leave that to the hipsters down at the Whole Foods. Let them buy the vine milk.
I love some Whole Foods. Okay. So go on. Sorry, I interrupted as you're moving.
No, that was all I really had to say about this section. I mean, after he does his little hero shot here, we just get a camera shot from the back as he's back as he's just walking away from the camera further along down the trail, and we get a quick shot of Hawkins coming behind him, but then the minute ends, and that's all we get there.
Yeah, I think it's just a little interesting kind of liminal space, the space between moments here in this movie. You have him moving, at least at the end of this minute, it appears like he's more carefully making his way through the brush, through the undergrowth, and maybe about to enter a more of a clearing, or more of an opening here in the jungle. And I do like the camera in the back, because last time we saw that, it was him about to leave the jungle, or about to leave the Rebel camp, if you remember, when the camera was following him and then it paused when he paused.
Yeah.
And he sensed something. So maybe that's about to happen again, where he's going to sense something just with his extra special Billy senses.
I'm excited to get into the next section of this movie. I feel like we've had way too long since we've had a kill. We need another death.
Our last kill was a scorpion.
Yeah, right. Yeah, poor scorpion. That was a real kill, so there's that.
Yeah, the one real kill of the movie was that poor scorpion. Little Scorpio. Little Scorpy.
Little Scorpy.
Little Scorpy.
Little Scorpy.
Little Smoky.
I liked in the last minute how you kind of did a little vignette of all of our fallen soldiers. Little Smoky. Red Baron.
Juan Valdez. I'll never forget,
Never forget.
I can't wait to put some nice sad music to a scene or to our next death. Looking forward to it.
All right. Well, do you have anything else to add about this minute?
I don't think so. And if you don't either, let's hit up the old weekly recommends.
Yeah. All right. I'll go first.
Okay. What do you have as a recommend this week, Jeff?
I haven't watched a whole lot this week, but I'll talk about one thing I did that I enjoyed. It was a documentary that dropped on Netflix recently. It's called Cocaine Island. Have you seen that come up in your feed at all?
I haven't, even though I've watched a lot of the Narcos.
Yeah, right. Yeah. I like documentaries, and so maybe that's why it showed up. But this is a fun one. It's a quick watch. I think it's like 80 or 90 minutes, and it's about a group of, one guy in particular. He lives in the South. He was living a very successful life with his business that he owned. It was a construction-based business. Mm-hmm. The recession hit in 2008, and it just decimated his business. And his family went from living this beautiful kind of affluent lifestyle to living in a double-wide trailer on a small plot of land. And when he makes the move to this double-wide, he meets a bunch of interesting characters that live in his new neighborhood. And one of them tells him about a bag of cocaine that many years ago he had buried in an island off of, I think it was Puerto Rico. And that presumably the bag of coke was still there. And the guys and our hero is like, well, how much coke? What are you talking about here? And it's revealed that it's about $2 million worth.
Whoa.
And so, long story short, and I don't want to give away too much, but the premise of the documentary, or what actually happened that they talk about, is that this guy enlists a small group of friends, to basically try to go down there and find it. And not only find it, but they also have to set up a way to cash it in, right? Like, what are you going to do with a whole bunch of coke if you can't sell it? So this is a true story. The documentary just kind of goes through the beats of what happened and the ups and the downs. And like in a movie, this would be done by someone who had knowledge and resources and brains, and instead we get like a bunch of hillbillies from the South who have know nothing about drugs, trying to find a giant bag of cocaine and then broker a deal with it. And it's super entertaining, a really interesting story, and a pretty easy quick watch. So I highly recommend Cocaine Island documentary.
Okay, it looks like it's called The Legend of Cocaine Island.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Just to steer us away from that the other show, Cocaine Island, which vastly different, but just as good.
Just as good.
So much cocaine.
Yeah, it was fun. It was like several times throughout the movie, you just kind of go, what? Like that was your decision? Or like the people he ends up getting wrapped up with, you're like, oh my God, like why? What did you think was going to happen here? It's amazing.
Oh, yeah. That's awesome. I love when true stories are just that wacky, and just the premise alone is enough to make you check it out.
It's stranger than truth is stranger than fiction, right? It's absolutely one of those cases where like you can't make this up. Like the story is so unbelievable, and what they do and what they go through and how it ends. Yeah, it's worthy of the documentary treatment for sure.
Okay,
Yeah.
awesome.
Yeah. What you got on the docket for us?
Well, I was checking out another horror movie that I'll recommend. Hey.
Turning you to the dark side, I'm telling you.
Yeah, so is Netflix. As soon as you watch one thing on Netflix that's horror adjacent or related or plain horror, they think, oh, well, here's another sneaky way we can trick John into watching horror movies, and it works.
Yeah.
They just have to, for me, I feel like really strongly connected to those cast members who are familiar. So I was watching a movie about a family trying to move to a place where they had to be really quiet, otherwise these monsters would hear them and attack them. Do you think you know what I'm going to recommend?
I do.
What do you think?
It's A Quiet Place.
It is not A Quiet Place.
What? Oh, did you watch Bird Box?
No. I feel like I choppily recommended that a few minutes ago, maybe a dozen minutes ago or so. But no, I watched a movie called The Silence, made in 2019, or at least it says made in 2019. Clearly inspired heavily by A Quiet Place.
You literally described the plot of A Quiet Place.
Yes, I know. When I was reading the little blurb on Netflix, that's what it said, and it sounded instantly familiar. But it had Stanley Tucci as the father of the family, who's trying to lead them away from these dangerous creatures. I think the big difference between this and A Quiet Place is, in A Quiet Place, it's all them living in that world after everything's gone south. But in The Silence, it's different in that you're seeing the stuff happen. You're seeing the big catastrophe happen in real time in the first act. Yeah, and then you have, that's something I always enjoy about those apocalyptic kind of movies, whether it's zombies or plague or this kind of movie, where whatever the premise is, I am totally that rubbernecker who wants to see all the chaos ensue and actually see it happen, not just the aftermath. Aftermath is for, like, I don't know, in my opinion, the people who really like The Walking Dead, which is not something I could ever really sink my teeth into and be a huge fan of, just because it's like, all the crazy stuff's already happened. That's where I really want to see happen. And so you do have the chance to see that, and you see a little bit of some ne'er-do-wells interfering with the family, trying to escape and trying to find a place away from the what do you call it, sound-based monsters. Right. But I think it does a really good job of making you understand just how terrifying that would be and how crazy of a situation that would be, and you can't help but think, and I guess A Quiet Place does this too. I never saw it, but from what I know, is it's one of those good horror movies that puts you in the shoes of the people and makes you think, what would I do in a situation like that?
Oh, you haven't seen A Quiet Place?
No, but I've heard enough about it, and I've heard reviews, just because I try to put myself in the shoes of me listening or watching that, and there's no way I could stand something like that if I'm not able to just skip over the super scary parts. Yeah,
it's A Quiet Place is very good, and it's I recommend it if there's some pretty scary parts to it, but it's mostly just a really good, like, thriller, I think, with a kind of a unique storyline. So did you feel like The Silence, it sounds like it was good enough for you to not consider it just a cash grab ripoff? Like, it was pretty good as its own story. They did enough different.
Yeah, well, for a cash grab ripoff, I think they did a good job, and probably what they did a great job stealing, I think, the premise of A Quiet Place, but I don't think they stole the heart and the characters of A Quiet Place. There's no way that's going to compare, because everything I hear is, the family is such this strong unit that you're invested in A Quiet Place. In this movie, you're not really invested in the family, I don't feel like, but it's more fun just seeing the chaos around them and seeing how they deal with this monster outbreak. And I would say when you watch the opening, you're immediately going to think of found footage movies, and you might think, oh my god, is this going to be a found footage movie? No, not at all. Do not worry not. They use it to great effect just to introduce the big bads. But yeah, that's The Silence.
Nice. Okay, I'll have to put it on the list.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So where do we find you online there, Carl Hungus?
Hello, meine Dispatcher says there's something wrong with deine Kabel.
Oh, you can find me on the Twitter, Carl, capital K, Carl, _ capital H, Hungus. Get it right.
Mein Name is Carl, ich bin expert.
I'm on the Twitters. Come find me there.
Did you put a 314 at the end?
Oh, 314, okay. Yes. Capital K, Carl, _ capital H Hungus, 314.
All right. Carl Hungus Pie.
Yep,
Love it.
there I am. You'll find me.
Yeah, and if you have some horror recommends that I can check out now that I'm kind of elevating myself a little bit towards other genres like horror, then let us know at the Predator Minute Listeners Palapa. You can also email the show, predatorminute@gmail.com, or check out any latest posts on Twitter at Predator Minute. So for Predator Minute for this week, minute 38, I've been John Zabriskie.
And I'm Jeff Glover.
And until next time,
stick around.
Stick around.
Stick around.
Quit sandbagging it.
Come on, sweetheart. Stop sandbagging it. Now get up.
Sandbagging it, John.